Yeah, what's going on Instagram? What's happening YouTube? Listen, man, I wanted to touch on a topic tonight, man, and really kind of get something off my chest. This phrase I hear a lot used for both men and women. I think gets thrown out too loosely, and I think it's kind of a little bit. I ain't gonna say disrespectful, but it's a real put off situation when this phrase is turned when this phrase is actually put out and regarded toward a person. So I think both men had this problem being labeled this. I think women had this problem being labeled this as well, and that's being unfit to date. All right. So if you new to the page, new to the channel, this is the Male Translations Podcast. We break down the difference of what men say and women hear, give men a voice, give women insight on relationships, and we the men's voice when it comes to relationships. So I'm your host, Mr. Male Translations, Clarence Brown, certified relationship coach. And like I said, man, I wanted to just real quick, man, before the new year starts, I wanted to touch on this particular phrase. Like I said, it gets used a lot and thrown out a lot when it comes to people, but I know I would hate to be labeled this. I know many people would hate to be labeled unfit to date, but I really wanted to touch on that because I think that when it comes to dating, it's so often that you hear this term thrown out that it often makes you, I don't know if it makes you question or wonder what is it that makes this person unfit to date. What's going on? Let me see. Nikiva Brown, the sound isn't working. I can't hear you. Oh. It says the mic is working. Anyway, we're gonna keep it moving. We're gonna keep it moving. So anyway, so the term unfit to date, like I said, it gets thrown out a lot, especially when it comes to both men and women when it comes to dating. But I know that when it comes to this term, nobody wants to fall into this category. But I think the question becomes what makes a man unfit to date? What makes a woman unfit to date? What is it about this particular situation that you would deem this person unfit to date? And so in my book, Come and Talk to Me, The Women's Guide to Why Men Don't Communicate, you can go check that out on my website, relationshiphealing.co. That's not .com. What's going on, Chiree? I see you out there in YouTube world. Yeah, so in that book, I talk about this in the first chapter of why men hate being vulnerable. That's the first chapter in my book. And when it comes to a man communicating, this is a big deal because when it comes to dating, especially in the early stages, this term unfit to date is going to get thrown around so much that it almost just seems like you can cast a net and just say, okay, well, these things that make a person unfit to date. And most of the times we can just categorize them as red flags. Now, especially in the beginning stages, you got to understand, ladies, that you in a very fortuitous position when it comes to the dating process early on, because for the most part, we both know as men and you ladies that may be out there that a woman is to be chased or she's to be pursued by the man. So in any capacity, a man is going to show that he has a level of interest in the woman and he's going to try to do what he can to gain her affection. But in the process, whenever a red flag comes up or whenever something that's questionable comes up, it's up to her to deem if it is either a red flag that is something that she will deem worthy of cutting off the relationship or not. And it could be anything. And my personal testimony, I can remember vividly. This is way before meeting my wife, but I remember a friend telling me, say, "Hey man, remember the old girl that you was talking to? She was a friend of my buddies, and she had ended up telling him that one time I had come over her house to hang out, and she lived right up the street. I had come up there. Now, don't judge me. This is back in the day. This is pre-ring, pre-wedding, whatever, pre-marriage. But she was like, well, when he came over to my house, he didn't have on socks. right? Now I just come over to chill. We was just going, Netflix and chilling, watching some TV, watching a couple movies, hanging out, whatever. And from that, she took it away that, oh, I didn't have socks on. So in her mind, that was enough for her to cut me off at that point. Now, I was blown when I heard this, but I had already in my mind had checked out and moved on from that stage or from that point already. But when I heard why she decided to kind of like ghost me, so to speak, and just not stop picking up my phone calls, I was like, that's pretty weak, right? Like, and in my mind, I'm thinking like I didn't think anything of it because I'm just feeling like, okay, I'm gonna just get up and go over here, come back, and let that be that. But I'm saying that to say that even in that even in that scenario for myself, I was cut off for something that she felt like, oh no, that's a red flag. Like, he don't wear socks with his shoes. I wear socks with my shoes. I just didn't do that time. But again, something to me that's so minor for her was worthy enough for her to cut me off, ghost me, but then yet double back and ask, why am I not calling her? Why am I not reaching back out to her to continue to, show her a good time and try to, spend time with her? Well, I had already moved on. And then to hear that she was still interested in trying to figure out where I had been, I felt like that was kind of whack. You know what I'm saying? And that's just my situation. I know that a lot of people have way more minor situations or situations that may be bigger than that, that they would feel like is a red flag worthy enough for them to cut off the relationship. But what I said earlier, you have a fortuitous position, ladies, is because in the beginning, a man, excuse me, he's in the position where he not wants to, but has to show and prove, so to speak, because in any capacity he's going to try to make some effort to put forth a showing that, hey, he's interested, whether that means taking her out on a date, whether that means going, hanging out sometimes after he has met her in some capacity. He's want to try to get some time and energy from her to be able to show himself to be worthy of more time, or taking things to the next level. Now, along that process, if any red flags come up, those red flags can be deemed worthy for him to be labeled unfit to date. So that could be, hey, bad breath. That could be showing up late for the date. That could be, I've heard women say, hey, they gotten picked up for a date and the man's car was dirty. Like inside the car wasn't cleaned out, and she seen that was a red flag. Stop talking to him for that. Listen, I've heard a lot of things as a relationship coach that seem like very, very odd and make you want to scratch your head, but yet certain people have certain preferences or certain ways that they see life that make them feel like, well, I'm not crazy for cutting them off for this. I'm not crazy, Clarence, because I decided not to move forward in a dating process because of this. And what happens is that makes the person resentful. This is where you have certain men that feel like cheated or feel like, they were taken advantage of because something that they did was seemed to put them in the category of unfit to date, and because of that, they feel like, oh hell nah, that's not right, and they move forward with this little scar on their heart that makes them feel like, hey, listen, I'm never going to show this side of myself again, or it's going to be very hard to get me to show this side of myself again. And the same can be said for women. Women, I don't even trip. I got you, because I already know. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Well, what about women? Yes, it's the same thing. But here's the thing: along the process, and the process takes place in a certain way, in certain stages. So like I said, in the beginning, a man is doing what he can to show his affection and show that he wants to gain more of her time and energy. And once he's shown and proved to be a quality man, or has his stuff together, and put himself together, then she puts on her, potential wife cape, and wants to show then him that she's worthy of being a wife, or being a good girlfriend, or taking things to the next level. Now, along that process, a man is assessing, is she fit to date, or is she unfit to date? Is she fit to be a wife or unfit to be a wife? But so these things, these labels can be going, they can go at any time for any person, but yet these stages are how it's broken down to where a person, especially a man, feels like he has to show and prove, and then where a woman feels like she also has to show and prove. So this term, like I said, unfit to date, is something that I think a lot of people cast loosely. Like I said, it could be something as small as a person might have, he might He or she might just needed a breath mint that day. That don't make them a bad person. You know what I'm saying? That might God might be testing you to see if that's something that you can deal with, or something that you're gonna let get in the way of you actually receiving the blessing He might have for you. I give you a perfect example, because a lot of us are shallow. I'm gonna tell you how shallow I was when I first met my wife. And we joke all the time. Now we married, been together 11 years, married 8 years. I still joke with her to the day. I say when I met her, she ain't have no ass. I say, you ain't had no ass, you ain't had no booty, you ain't had nothing. She like, I had booty for my size. Like my booty matched my size. I was like, what does that mean? Matched your size. Either you have booty or you don't have booty. But in my mind, when I was dating her, this was something that I was like, you know what I mean? My preference. I don't really, she ain't doing nothing for me on the back. But she was a great person. We vibed well. We agreed on a lot of different things. We were very like minded when it came to a lot of different things. And so I seen that she was making an effort to come see me, because she was living a little bit outside of my city. So it was like, by her even coming, it was an effort on her part to show that she was, continuing to make a commitment to us moving forward. So, but in my mind, I knew that I could have let that get in the way of our relationship. I could have said that, well, for me, because of my preference, or because of something I feel like is just the way I want my to be with a person that I want to be with. I just know I don't see her to be fit for me to date, for my relationship, right? For something I wanted to be in. And as I think about it, guys do this too. And women will say, hey, he had no money. He seemed like he was broke. Stuff like that are the things that get in the way, right? For me, like I said, I was looking at it like, well, but during that whole time, we were doing so much connecting and just vibing and just really, uniting on different things, that I said, okay, well, I would be a fool. I would be a fool to let this go because of what I feel like is lacking in a certain area. Am I willing to compromise, knowing that this relationship is great in so many other areas? So all I'm saying is, and listen, through the years, things have grown in many different capacities. So I can say, hey, listen, I was pleased then and I'm pleased now. But yet, like I say, I joke with my wife. We joke about it and go back and forth. But I can say that people do this every day. I want in 2020 for us to, as the last days are winding down, to be able to leave this behind and move forward with a different understanding that, hey, listen, if a person treating you right, if y'all have great chemistry, if y'all seem to be very compatible, if y'all are able to vibe with one another and be able to share thoughts and seem to be on the same wavelength about things, not to say that y'all agree about every single thing, but at the same time, if you guys are seeming to really connect on a lot of different things that you feel other people you didn't connect with, then I feel like you should be able to look at certain things and say, okay, well, I'll be able to compromise on certain things. Meaning, like example, if a person isn't in a financial place that they want to be currently, in my opinion, depending on their amount of effort and ambition to move forward and get things rectified, I think you should give them a chance. I think that you should still see them to be a person that is a good person or a good fit person to date based off their character, not off of their finances, right? The same can be said about their body, or about maybe the way that they dress or things like that. Like these things can be fixed. These things can be accepted by somebody that can see that, okay, that's not that important. Other things are important. A person's character, about that person's morals compass, their standards, their values, things that they stand for. Those things are more important than if they wearing some boat shoes worth of some tennis shoes, or some flip flop. Like, listen, that doesn't matter. But I see it all the time. People will see these little minor things and feel like, you know what, I'm gonna cast this person aside and move on to the next, off of things that don't really matter in the long run. How you gonna really cut somebody off for something that's outside of their character? I feel like a person with good character is a person who is loyal, who is ambitious, who is a hard worker, who is still taking steps to move forward and get higher and strive for greatness in life. Just because they're not there right now doesn't mean that they're unfit to date. Let me see. What sucks? That is so petty. Oh, socks. Yeah, that is so petty. That makes no sense. People go overboard with red flags. Definitely. Listen, for me, it was to me, I was like that's weak. That's real weak. You know what I mean? To try to cut me off because I didn't have on some socks with my shoes that day. Like, listen, you was lucky I didn't come to your house. That's why I stopped coming over there. And then she was mad when I stopped coming, and now I'm mad. Now I'm wrong because she seen that I was spending good money and I was doing things that a lot of guys wasn't doing, treating her nice, taking her out, not withholding the position I was in to be able to do certain things. So, I'm seeing she was missing after that. That's why when she hit up my buddy, like, yo, well, where's Clarence at? He's like, oh, okay, I thought you and Clarence was done. Nah, Clarence was done. Now you seen that you wanted to come back. So that's how it happened. Let me see. I think it's important to be with someone who wants to be who you are, not what they want you to be. Otherwise, everything you do will be a red flag. I agree, but I think that sometimes that goes a little bit too far. You what you're saying makes sense. What you're saying is, hey, it's important to be with someone who wants you to be who you are and not what they want you to be. So I understand. I think that is very important. But the reason why I think sometimes that gets carried overboard is a person gets so caught up in not wanting to change that it becomes a problem for the relationship, because a lot of times that person feels like, well, it's a red flag for a person that is, seeing areas that I can adjust and improve in and pointing it out. It's many times, especially, you see, things are different when it comes to when you're dating versus when you're married. All right, we all know this, right? But when it comes to practice, I think that a lot of times we feel like, oh, well, I'm only doing this if if it's for my wife. I'm only doing this if it's for my husband. But you don't realize you're never gonna make it to that stage without making those adjustments beforehand. Because how many times you gonna see a person marry someone based off of things that they've never seen? I could say, okay, in my mind, as I said that, I can hear a lot of people saying, a lot of people, but for the most part, a person is going into marriage based off of what they've seen, not what they haven't seen. There are people who marry for the wrong reasons or jump into things a lot more quickly than they should. But at the same time, for the overall, you can say that you don't see many people just not see the reason why to marry a person and just marry a person just for no reason. No, you don't see it. So what that means is that those changes, those adjustments, those things that a person feel like make you more fit and molded to them and make you feel like they're more of a perfect fit for them. They see that because of, they move forward because of what they see. So a lot of times a person feel like, oh, I shouldn't have to change, and that's not true. When you're not the same person at 20 that you were when you were 10. You were not the same person at 30 than you was when you were 20. You're not the same person at 35 than you were when you were 25. So with that being said, no, you're not going to be in a relationship without having to change any. So it is a red flag sometimes also when a person feels like they're unfit. Not unfit. They're not willing to make any changes or adjustments. So to me, that is something that makes a person unfit to date. Is a person who feels like, well, I just want to be who I want to be, and that's good. It's almost like a balance. A person does want to be who they want to be, but also recognize that for anybody you wish to be in a relationship with, they're gonna ask you to make some changes for them, because you're good by yourself, and that's why you're by yourself. But the moment that you decide that you want to be with someone, you got to recognize that you're going to have to make a change and make changes for that person, to be with that person, and for the relationship to last. So when it comes to, like I said, the phrase that we all know, we all have heard this, oh, he just wasn't ready. He just wasn't ready. Like he ain't have himself together. Like I did a topic on this other day about being ready-made versus ready to mold. And a lot of people, we all want that person that's ready-made. You know what I mean? A lot of ways. But what does that mean? Because a person can't be ready-made for us if they don't really know us. They don't know the ins and outs. They don't know the little secrets that happened when we was 10 years old that just, mess with our mind and have us develop it a certain way and look at life a certain way that now as an adult, we are here. You know what I mean? Like the person doesn't know the way that you see life based upon the experiences that you had with other men or other women or other people in life or family members, and how those things have shaped and shifted the way you see life. You don't know that, right? They don't know that. So how are they ready made? A lot of times what we perceive to be ready made isn't actually ready made. And I think that for the most part, we should want somebody who's ready to mold, right? We should want somebody who's ready to mold to us. That means that they're open minded. They're vulnerable enough to say, okay, well, whatever needs to happen, I'm willing to consider it as something that may need to be changed on my end for us to grow. You want somebody who's ready to mold. So if that person is not of that mindset, then yes, I feel like they are unfit to date. But be outside of that, to me, I feel like we shouldn't throw a cast that label and title over people when it comes to being unfit to date, because especially women, y'all hate. I know women. Listen, this is a title that you refuse to receive and accept. There's no woman who ever has felt like she was unfit to date, although a lot of women can bring up many reasons and many examples of a man who's unfit to date, whether that be because, the situation with his money, or the situation with the mother of his children, or the situation with his family, his close relatives, or the situation with his living quarters, things. I mean, you name it. But I think that when it comes to a man seeing a woman as unfit to date or unfit to marry, let's talk about that. Unfit to marry. Listen, no matter what is being said, a woman is it's going to be hard to get her to really accept that, because for the most part, a lot of women feel like, hey, listen, I'm the prize. Like, if you haven't, if we haven't got married, then that's because you're not doing something right. Like, I'm ready to settle down. I'm ready to be, a queen. I'm ready to be a wife. So therefore, that means that if we haven't moved through and to those steps, then that means that it's something that you're not doing. And a lot of times that's untrue. But I want you to understand that when you hear these terms, it's always good to get to know why that phrase is casted over your head, because you never know what a person thinks of you. You never know how a person feels about you. And you have to know these things to be able to grow and be able to kind of, rectify those things that may be in the way. So, women, if a man or if somebody you dating sees that you are, you're not ready to get married, or you're not seeming to be like you're fit for that relationship, don't take it as a sign of offense. Don't take it as, oh, you tripping just because you said that. How can you say that to me? No, you actually have to listen to what that person is saying and accept it for what it is. Because I mean, a lot of times, if you don't, these are things that stop you from moving forward, and you can't blame everything on the opposite person. You can't blame everything on that person to say, well, it was because of them that we didn't move forward. If you are so ready, then be ready to mold and be ready to make those adjustments for that person, just the same way you want them to make those adjustments for you. And so you never want to fall into this category, but if you do, then get to know why and accept it for what it is. Now, if a person is coming off too disrespectful, that's one thing. But if not, then I feel like you should at least consider what they have to say to be able to make those adjustments. Because just because you don't feel a certain type of way doesn't mean that more people aren't sharing the same sentiments as that person that's giving you that criticism. So I've seen this as thrown at men many times. And I say women sometimes be not so quick footed to cast this label over a man's head as being unfit to date. Because what oftentimes happens is a woman will say, "Oh, or this guy is trash, or he ain't ready. He's unfit to date. He ain't got his situation right. I ain't got time for it." And then that man moves on with somebody who's a little bit more patient than you. And then the next time you see him out, he's doing something with somebody, or he's with someone. And then now you're like, "Oh, okay, I see. He must have got himself right. Must have got himself together." Well, back then he ain't have it all together, so I don't feel wrong for cutting him off. Now he got himself together, okay, cool. But yet the thing is, you single. The thing is, he's done moved on. He's done acquired somebody who's able to make compromises for his situation and allow him to grow into the man he's supposed to be, while you might not have been that person. And now you're looking at it like a wasted situation, a wasted opportunity, because as you look back on it, hey, it wasn't like he wasn't a good dude, or his character was off, or it wasn't like he was mistreating me or abusing me verbally, things of that nature. It was just that his situation might not have been right at the time. And so now listen, I'm not saying this to talk down on anybody, but I'm saying this because I hear these things. These are the things that I hear about being a relationship coach. So being in the therapy space, oftentimes you hear some of the deep down, layers of a person that most people don't see on the surface. So now when it comes to the things that I'm speaking about now, it's because I know it has happened. I've seen people who have felt like, well, at the time, a person that they were with didn't have everything in order. And so they decided to move on. And as they look back on it, now that person is doing better and is with someone, and they seem to be getting married, having kids and all that. And now you look back at it like, well, maybe the things that I deemed him or her unfit to date for wasn't that important. Maybe it was things that I could have compromised on or given a little bit more patience, a little bit more time to, without just writing them off. And then now, where it seems that they were written off at the time, I'm written off now. This is things that I've heard from many women when it comes to this label of being unfit to date. Well, what I was supposed to do, Clarence? What I was supposed to do? I mean, I ain't got time to waste. I ain't got time to. Okay, but listen, you can't force it. It's a book that I read called Power versus Force. Listen, you have the power to say, okay, well, I'm willing to know who I am, know my worth, and know what I'm willing to accept. But yeah, I'm not going to force something just because I feel like I'm running out of time. I'm still going to believe that my opportunity is there, and that true love will happen. It's just going to happen in God's time and not my time. So that means that you can still be with a person, be happy, even if in the timing, the ring hasn't come in the timing that you feel like it should, or that your progression in the relationship hasn't happened like it should. Listen, it's about you and that other person. It's not all about you and how things are transpiring for you, and your time frame, and what you desire and how quickly it's coming for you. Like, no, it's about y'all. So y'all supposed to grow together, even if it's not happening as quickly as you want. You want to still have that good close knit relationship where you and your partner are very unified and connected. That to me is bigger than, oh man, we've been together 2 years. Like, what? We come on now, come on. And so you have to know that your relationship is good, in good standing, and not just know that your relationship has been standing for a long time. That to me isn't the most important thing. The most important thing is trying to figure out what things you can do and what things your partner can do to grow together, as opposed to just saying, okay, well, regardless of us being in a in and out relationship, an off and on relationship, at this point, when we calculate the time, accumulatively, we've been together 2.5 years. So at this point, like, we might as well be together. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but y'all relationship is trash. Y'all really don't like each other. Y'all very dysfunctional. Your relationship is toxic. It doesn't seem like y'all agree on many things, but yet, just because that person has been a person that you seem to spend most of your relationship time with, you have most of your sexual encounters with and intimacy with. So now you just feel like, well, we should just go ahead and do it because we're seeing like we're gonna be together. Like, is it a good situation or is it not? See what I'm saying? So all I'm saying is that the phrase unfit to date, I know a lot of women, have heard this, have casted this phrase out when it came to men. But just like I said, be a little bit more detailed in your assessment of what really matters. Because while you might believe that, oh well, I don't got time to waste, and this person ain't got their money right, or this person ain't got their situation right, or I've been doing all of this for this long. Like, okay, well, are you where you want to be? Are you with the person that you want to be with? Is a relationship that you're in one that you feel like you want to be in, and that will grow to the potential of where you see yourself being in life when it comes to having marriage, having kids, having a family? Okay, these are the things that to me matter more than where you currently stand right now in 2020, on the 29th day of December, right? Because we go into 2021, the same time you thought you didn't have, now that time has elapsed and you are still here, and you're looking at it like, well, I guess I could have. Yeah, I mean, as I look back, Clarence, I could have been a little, and I'm like, if you only knew then what you knew now, would you put up Like, we talk about, oh, fight for the relationship. Why are you going to put up a fight to keep the relationship going? Are you going to put up a fight to show that, hey, listen, well, I'm not going to just let a person go for silly reasons? And so, especially if somebody labels you this, you want to know, because if their reason is silly, you're gonna feel like, nah, you do it, like, don't even try me like that, because I know I'm better than that, right? So all I'm saying is, get yourself right. Think about the relationship in a different capacity. Is it a person's character more important than a person's finances? Is a person's morals and values and how they treat you and what they think about you, and how they feel about making a relationship grow more important than what their body type is? Is it more important than uh, if the living situation is right? Or like, I'm just like, look at the person. See how that person fits with you. If that person doesn't fit with you, then that means that to me, you can say, okay, that person was unfit for me to date. But that doesn't mean that they're unfit to date in general. That I would accept that more than a person saying I'm just unfit to date. Just say, hey, I wasn't a right fit for you, or a right fit for that person, right? That to me is more acceptable. I can understand that more. And so I just wanted to come on here real quick and talk about it, because, like I said, as I, in a therapy space, in a relationship coaching space, I think that when hearing this so often, I think it has to be addressed, because so many people throw it out for the wrong reasons, man. They throw it out because they feel like, well, I just felt like it wasn't going in my direction, or to the speed I wanted. It wasn't going, in my favor. So I cut that person off, and I just labeled him, yeah, he unfit today. He ain't ready. She ain't ready. She ain't rock that life. And you don't, and then later, you see that, hey, the things that you were looking at as important, now you see are not as important. And especially when that person move on, or that person has as glowed up, so to speak, you better have glowed up, because if not, you're gonna be looking at it as a wasted opportunity to say, you know what, I could have waited a little bit more. I could have been a little bit more patient with that person. Or, hey, that person did, we did have a good time, maybe laugh, this and that. Or, it just because Clarence wasn't wearing socks that day, I'm not gonna cut him off, right? But it's all good. I found my wife, and she was all right with that. She said, you know what, listen, I'm not gonna cut him off just because one time he just slipped on some slides with some socks. Like, the thing, I don't know. We just how we rock. So think about that the next time you label somebody unfit to date. This is something, like I said, is a very big deal. It's something that a lot of people struggle with, because they feel like, hey, I ain't got time, man. I listen. Either you gonna be what I need, or you not. But are you looking for somebody that's ready made, or are you looking for somebody that's ready to mold? All right. I was at the time when I before I met my wife, was looking for somebody who was ready made, until I met my wife, and I was like, man, she just seems ready to mold. For me, it's like a glove, latex glove. You put it on first, it's a little flimsy, right? And then when you put it on, you start to peel the fingers back to your finger and start to fit perfectly to your hand. And that's what you want. I seen a person who was very flexible, who was open minded, who was able to understand, where I was coming from in a lot of things. And even though, like I say, we were very different, and you will be maybe very different than a person that you grow to be with. Still, it's about how they fit to you. It's about how willing they are to mold and bend to what it is that you need out of them, because you are similar to someone and many people, but you're very different and individual in your own way. And I know it. I am like that. My wife's like that. Women are like that. Men are like that. We all have our similarities, but we also have our differences that we want a person to understand, know, and grow with, right? And so if you find somebody that's like that, even if the situation might not be completely perfect, recognize if that person is ready to mold, and know that if they are, then don't deem them unfit to date just because the situation might not be ideal at the time. All right. As long as they're making steps, and they're doing things to continue to move forward and improve that situation, then I see it as good ground to sow in. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Unfit to date men versus unfit to date women. There is a difference. In the beginning, like I said, just to go back over, men have to show improve in the beginning, and during that, I would say, I don't know how long it is different for every person, but it could be, from the first day to the 6 month period, all that time. She's like, okay, well, he's prone to improving, through dates, through time, through conversations, through all of this, if he seems to be a quality guy. Most of the time when he does, then now a woman is she throws on her cape to show and prove that, hey, I'm a quality woman as well. But through that, both are assessing if the other is unfit to date, or if they're a match for them or compatible for them. And through all of that, it's a waiting game. It's a wait and see game. But yet you would hate for somebody to label you unfit to date for something that's silly. You would hate it. You know what I mean? I know I hate it. I know, you would hate it. You know what I mean? Let it be something real. Let it be something, because you know what I mean? Like, you was a liar, or you was a cheater, or you was somebody who just was very inconsiderate, didn't really care about nothing but what you wanted. Like, I feel like, you hear that, even if it's hard to swallow, you'd be like, okay, well, I mean, they can say that, but right. But if it's something silly, like, hey, oh, well, I just don't like the shirt she had on, or the way she dressed, or the way the way he had on his clothes. I just didn't like that. It's just the way he carried himself. He was just kind of, right? What does mean? You got to be more descriptive. You got to be, you can't just let that ride like that. But again, this is the phrase. These are the things that people say. Like I said, I've heard people say I cut a man off because he had the first day he had bad breath. A woman told me, say she cut a man off because when he came to pick her up in his car, that his car was a little bit trashy in the back seat. All right. I heard a woman say, hey, she cut a man off because it seemed like, his money wasn't right. Right. You know what I mean? They decided to go out and it didn't seem like he had his money situation together. It was another one said, hey, listen, he invited her to coffee instead of inviting her to dinner. And she's like, I don't do coffee. Like, that was a red flag for me. Like, that, I knew at that moment, like, it was something up with him. So I just decided, no, like, I done heard all of this stuff. This is not just me making this up. This is things that people have told me. This is women have, and I'm on the other side of it, it's just like, right. So what? Yeah, and they're moving. They talking about this stuff like it's no problem, no big deal. Yeah, they was like, yeah, I cut him off because, like, what? I ain't got time to deal with that. And it's like, listen, what if somebody could, some of your deepest, darkest secrets that you don't know, want nobody to know? What if some of those things came out? Would you still be qualified as fit to date? If somebody knew that you had that six toe that just wiggly there, that off the side, that don't really kind of hang, but like it ain't, you need to cut it off, but you ain't clip. But like, if somebody knew, like, that you have bodily odor, that you can go all day and not really do much, but sometimes you sweat a little bit more than normal. Like, listen, it's some women that I like, listen, that I know has some odd things about them. Don't make them bad people. Don't make them bad women, but it'd be like, listen, off that alone, a man be like, hey, that's a little bit of a turn off. Do you want to be turned away? Probably not. So all I'm saying is, this is why, like I said, this term unfit to date is thrown too loosely. I don't think that a person should be labeled or categorized as unfit to date just because something that doesn't evolve around their character, their morals, their values, how they see life with you, if they're compatible with you. Like, that to me is what makes a person unfit to date you. Not fit for you, but not unfit to date in general, right? So I just want to, I ain't gonna beat a dead horse. I'm gonna get on up out your way. But just remember that, men and ladies, when you meet somebody, what is most important to you? Is it most important what they look like, or their money like, or how they gonna treat you, and how the relationship forms together if you two are compatible? Those things are the most important things to you. Then I say go ahead and continue to move forward with somebody, and fix those things that may need to be fixed. But until then, hey, if the ride is going well, then you're gonna have to make that compromise. All right. I know my wife has made many compromises for me. Like I said, being together 11 years, married 8. Listen, it's been plenty of times I used to feel like, man, listen, I ain't that dude. Like, you need somebody like you. I'm clearly not that guy for you. I'm clearly not that dude. And it's been times that she like, like, listen, you must got it confused. Like, listen, I'm a different type of person. And so we have to go through these things. We have to go through these discovery situations to be able to learn more about a person and grow closer together. So I want y'all to be able to have the same thing. And so when I'm hearing so many situations of people that don't have that, really desire that, but yet don't seem to have the patience to manifest those type of things in relationships, and when they meet somebody, it's a problem for me. So I got to talk about it. I got to bring it up. And so I just want y'all to understand how this phrase is turned out, how this phrase is thrown out, and also what that means for you and what that means when they say it. So like I said, unfit to date for them, that's one thing, but don't say a person unfit to date just because they didn't match up with what you wanted and what you needed and what you wanted out of a relationship. So that's it for tonight, guys. I'm gonna try to jump back on here a couple more times before the new year. I'm taking a break off on the podcast, bringing it right back on the first Tuesday night in the new year. You know how we're gonna do it. But thank y'all for the support and love. Make sure you go check out my book, Come and Talk to Me, The Women's Guide to Why Men Don't Communicate. And also just check out the website, man. I just revamped the website. It's relationshiphealing.co. Let me go ahead and type that in for YouTube. Relationship healing.co. All right, let me go ahead and throw that in on Instagram as well. All right. Relationshiphealing.co. That's the website. And that's not .com. That's .co. Chop that M off the end. All right. I did it for a reason. And please continue to show your love and support. Thank y'all for your time. And I'm going to see y'all again. All right. Be blessed. Enjoy the rest of the new year if I don't see you until 2021. All right. Peace.